Good morning, Taylor. Gosh, there were just a couple other people in the waiting room and we lost them. All right, well, let's just go ahead and get started, shall we?
Mm-hmm. Sounds great. Thanks, Desiree.
Yeah, so we're very lucky today to have Kaylee Julius with us. And it's a topic that I'm really super excited about. So learning how to fuel your well-being. So with that, hand it over to you, Kaylee.
Great. Thanks so much for being here, Taylor. Sorry, I'm just trying to get my screen in presentation mode here. Yeah, and I know it's kind of hard when you're one person on the call. So, you can put your camera on or off, whatever feels most comfortable for you. I'll introduce myself, and then if you're willing to just introduce yourself, unmute and just tell us where your name, obviously we have that, where you're located, and maybe one thing you would like to get out of the workshop today. That would be super helpful for me. And because it is such a small group, I'm hoping that we can tailor this more specifically to you and what you would like to get out of it. So I'm Kaylee Julius. My role currently is I'm the Wellbeing Director at the Curry Health Center. I am a National Board Certified Health and Wellness Coach. So I've spent about a decade supporting individuals in their own well-being journeys. And about 4 or 5 of that, I worked specifically with the National Diabetes Prevention Program through the CDC. So worked more of my nutrition focused work was in that role. Yeah, so I'm excited to kind of bring this topic to the series and just hopefully have a good discussion today. So, and Lydia, I don't know how involved you would like to be, sorry, bless you. But if you have anything you wanted to add to the discussion or introduce yourself to, that would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kaylee. I'd love to participate today. I'm excited for the topic and really honored to have you. So my name's Lydia Check. I am a certified wellness practitioner and health behavior coach and the director of the Montana Public Health Training Center's wellness program. And I have worked with Kaylee for coming up on a decade now. She's been a wonderful mentor throughout my schooling adventures and an asset as a colleague. So thanks again for joining us today, Kaylee.
I'm going to stop sharing just so it's a little not so clunky with the view. Taylor, if you feel whatever you feel comfortable sharing, we'd love to hear from you.
Sure. I am a registered nurse for Dawson County's health department, and I have worked for this health department for about 2 years and really trying to increase the amount of just services and resources that we can offer the public on like a more well-rounded wellness, I guess, standpoint of things. And so I've really been kind of researching the effects of how everything runs together with mental health, physical health, all those other things. And nutrition is one of the things that I just am not super well-rounded on. And so I was excited to jump on here and learn about how that all can tie in. I am we are a very small health department, so I wear many hats here. And we're doing blood draws this morning. So I was planning on kind of being in and out anyways. So if I don't answer that, I'm probably drawing blood.
Wow. Well, that's multitasking at its finest. Thanks so much for being here. And I looks like it's being recorded. So if you miss anything, you can watch it back or reach out to us. I'm happy to answer questions and share the slides.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for taking time out of your day to be here with us. I used to be a phlebotomist. I loved drawing blood. That was actually one of my favorites.
Yes, I moving into public health from the hospital, it's something that keeps my nurse skills. I enjoy it. So
100%. I always enjoyed it because I know it can be an anxious time for people, and so it was a way that I could try to soothe that element of their visit. And yeah, it's rewarding work. And thank you for all you do for your community.
Thank you.
Um, So I'm just going to do a quick overview of what we're going to discuss today. So we're going to talk a little bit about the science of nutrition and how it fuels performance, focus, and resilience. Talk about more practical skills that you can bring into the workplace on an individual level, and also more of a community cultural level within your organization. And then building a culture of sustainable nutrition. So I don't know, Taylor, is Taylor a wellness champion, an interested wellness champion? Sorry, I didn't ask. That was probably would have been a good question to ask from the beginning.
I am not. I haven't looked much into it. I am 38 weeks pregnant right now, so I've not taken on a whole lot of new things. And was really gonna look into it more after maternity leave, because
That
at
makes
this point we don't know when I'm gonna be around or not.
totally understand. Congratulations in advance.
Yeah,
So thank you.
congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you.
So yeah, no pressure, but kind of what, I think you're doing wellness champion work based on your introduction already, even if you don't have that official title. So just kind of opening it up for a discussion, and I'm actually going to stop sharing for this part too, but just curious, and you can put in the chat or share out what we all feel like are foods that boost our energy during our workday, or what foods do we notice, any day of the week give us more energy.
The one that's really coming forward for me right now is avocado.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like it's the perfect ratio snack to cut it open and put a little like salt and nutritional yeast on it. And I just feel like my body absorbs it really easily and like makes it the healthy fats make it like brain activating. So I don't know. Feels good.
Thanks for sharing.
Hmm.
And it sounds like you kind of are aware that avocado has fat in it. What do you know what else is in there that might help you feel energized, or why it makes you feel energized?
I could make a hypothesis that it would be that it's a nutrient dense food. And so being that it's a stone fruit, there's probably some good glucose and vitamins and minerals.
Mhm. The other thing that's really interesting about avocado, it has quite a bit of fiber in it too. So those two components like really help for sustainable energy.
That
So
makes no sense. They do have those good fiber strings in there, especially if you let them get too ripe.
yeah. Taylor, do you want to share? Do you have anything that comes to mind?
Well, with this pregnancy, I have been doing like Greek yogurt parfaits for breakfast. I don't know that anything gives me energy at this point, so
I understand that. Do you
that's
have,
just my cravings.
is this your first child, or do you have more than one?
This is my second, yeah.
Your second, yeah. I feel you. I have two as well. In my second pregnancy, I was just, I don't know, just always
Survive.
excited. Yeah. But your Greek yogurt parfait, even though it might not feel like it is, that Greek yogurt is a really great source of protein, and protein is a really, especially for women, there's a lot of it in the media right now, but the focus of protein to, help with energy levels, maintaining, feeling satisfied, but then also maintaining muscle mass throughout your life. So that's great. And I'm sure you have something, fruits in general are a great source of fiber as well. And, if you have some kind of granola or something like that, those carbohydrates also will have some form of a fiber source. So great. Great sharing. I really have been into m- avocado egg toast, and I have just started a new hobby of making my own sourdough bread. So that's my latest obsession for what fuels my morning if we're focusing on that for the topic. Yeah.
Sourdough bread is the ultimate bread.
In making your own bread, there's just something to it. Yeah.
Wow, maybe we'll have to talk about a sourdough starter if that can be
Yeah.
a thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I have a gluten-free and a regular. I'm all in.
We'll bring you out one. Or no, yeah, I'll bring you one to Helena, Desiree.
Oh, there you go.
It sounds good. I've been thinking about it myself, so that's good. I do a little extra on the Greek yogurt parfait. So I add in cottage cheese, protein powder, chia seeds, a nut butter, and then some berry. So either a
Delicious.
blackberry or a raspberry or a blueberry, but
What's
just
your
a little bit.
favorite berry?
What?
What's your favorite berry?
Oh, the red ones. Just kidding. Raspberry.
I'm a blueberry girl, but raspberry's second favorite.
Great. Well, I think just, as we transition to kind of what foods might drain our energy, I think the focus of foods that are going to boost our energy are, whole food in nature. So, the ones that we can identify that like an avocado or a berry or Greek yogurt, most of the times it's, one or a couple of ingredients, we can clearly identify what it is or where it came from. And so the more you kind of move down the chain of, like for example, an apple chip versus an apple, there's just more processing, other things added. And it does kind of change the way our body is using that energy because it's harder for it to identify what it is, I guess is the easiest way to explain it. What foods or what things can we identify that drain our energy or don't help us focus, I think would be another way. And this could be drinks, food. I mean, there's a lot of different things potentially.
I notice things that are really high in sugar first thing in the morning end up making me feel so tired. Like, I've removed the sweeteners from my morning coffee or tea, and uh, in general, if I have a high sugared or like highly processed sweet food, then I end up having that crash later. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. We as a health department tend to bring in, like everybody brings in treats all the time. And it's always like, oh, an afternoon pick me up. Let me go grab like a bar or a cookie or something. And it always makes me crash. So I've been pretty mindful on not doing that because I don't need any help crashing this in the afternoons.
I'd say potato chips. I think they're a great idea, but they do nothing. So
Yeah.
they make you feel terrible.
Yeah, I would just say like for me, yeah, like more the simple foods that don't have like the fiber or the protein in them, I definitely feel like just not satisfied and hungry and can't focus as well. I also definitely feel sensitive to like too much caffeine and then maybe want more of the crunchy things or just can't focus as much. So I also think when we're talking about like fueling for energy, caffeine definitely plays a role. Everyone has their tolerance of caffeine, but after a certain point, it's really not going to be, beneficial. And then later in the day, consuming caffeine can make it harder to fall asleep at night and kind of be this vicious cycle. And I think, the next question kind of leads into this culture. I also work in a health center. Anytime I walk into the break room, majority of the time, the choices are not maybe the best whole foods or ones that are going to give us energy. So just, the question, my next question is, what are the barriers or challenges in making healthy choices at work? And this could be more on an individual level or kind of more like, environmental, the choices that are around us are limited. Yeah. Curious what folks feel like here.
My biggest problem at work is the fact that I will hyper focus and then forget to eat anything at all. And then I end up, as soon as like work is over, I will just be insatiably hungry and then make a quick food choice rather than an informed food choice. And so I would like to focus on having simple and small portioned whole foods, because I also notice if I eat like a big lunch or if I eat a lot in the middle of my workday, that also slows me down. My body just wants to take a nap. So yeah, kind of having more incremental small whole food snacks would be a good direction for me to move in.
Yeah, I work 4-10, so I eat lunch at work, and I think just like I do really well if I meal plan and have planned out what I'm going to bring to lunch, but if I don't and I'm like scrambling, it seems like I just snack all day instead of actually having like a decent sit down, this is lunch. And
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's nice to have those regimented things to look forward to eat too, that you like put this intention into.
Right. Meal planning is definitely helpful. It just takes, time and, effort. There's a lot of steps to it. But it does, one of the things I think about with the meal planning that's also really helpful for everyone really is that, that decision fatigue that we all experience, especially when we're at work and, we have limited time to choose an option. So we just kind of choose something that is, the closest thing we can, or maybe we don't eat because we don't want to make a decision. And then that kind of, creates some challenges later. Yeah. Other barriers about making healthy choices at work.
I remember when I worked in a doctor's office for many years in my 20s, the the thing at the time was drug rep lunches. Do you remember, like, the drug reps would come around and buy the doctors free lunch, so then they would like talk about their their pitch. And so they were always bringing in these like extravagant takeout meals from places around town, and so there was always just surplus food. And yeah, I found it really easy to want to enjoy like the community of eating together, but then I found that I would like overeat and get tired, or a lot of the times they'd bring in donuts and coffee for us in the morning. And so I think that can be a barrier too, when we're so socially grounded in coming together around food. And it's nice when people bring in things to treat everyone, right? And you want to participate and be part of that shared experience. And so that's when I was in an office environment, that was my challenge for sure. Hello, welcome. It's
Yeah.
good to see you. Is that Sarah Miller?
Hi, yes, it is.
Awesome. It's good to see you, Sarah. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
We're
sorry
just
late.
having
We just got done with the meeting.
No problem at all. You know, the fun thing about wellness work is that we're all wizards and we arrive exactly when we're supposed to.
That's right. Yeah.
So we have a nice intimate discussion today. We're talking about food choices in the workplace and going around just kind of sharing our personal experiences. If you would like to share, you're more than welcome to participate in whichever capacity you're comfortable with. But otherwise, we're just really thankful to have you be here. Thanks for taking time out of your day. And Kaylee, I'll let you take it away from here.
Great. Sarah, we were just talking, like Lydia said, about barriers and challenges making healthy choices while at work. And I also think one of the challenges that most people face with food, it's just time, right? The time to eat, the time to prep, the time to choose, the time to get food. And so the two questions we had before that were, what are foods that boost your energy at work and what are foods that drain you at work? So later on in the workshop, there'll be some time to kind of think about what would make it easier for you to have some of those, energy boosting foods around so that you don't have to, if you forget the lunch or other choices, maybe thinking about ways that you can just have the foods that give you energy more accessible to you while you're at work with limited options. But now we're going to transition into a mindful eating exercise. And I don't know, I wanted to pause for a moment. This really only is, we can talk about mindful eating as a concept, but if folks don't have a snack accessible to them, I don't know if this is, going to be helpful. So do folks have a snack available for them to eat during this activity? And it's okay if you don't.
I brought mint. Just
Mint?
yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes,
Anything you
just
can
to
put in
have
there.
that experience, the taste experience. And so, yeah, if we want to kind of walk through it as a concept, if people don't have a snack, we can totally do that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have a snack currently, so.
No problem. We'll just kind of talk about mindful eating as a concept, and I can kind of talk you through how you can use it, not only like the mindful eating exercise I was going to do is more kind of being really hyper aware of when you're consuming food, the smell, the taste, the kind of all this, engaging all the senses so that we slow down and just are being really intentional about just eating and focusing on just eating. And I think for the sake of, the workshop and today, mindful eating, the process of mindful eating and the goal of mindful eating is really just to slow down and just focus on eating. Especially at work and when, we have busy lives, we're always doing, maybe working while we're eating, maybe, doing 3 different things while we're eating. And then, it kind of doesn't always connect, kind of our body needs. So when we're multitasking and eating, we might eat more than we need because we're just like focusing on getting the food in our bodies and not paying attention to like, am I feeling full? Or, how is this tasting? And really slowing down and focusing on chewing and digesting our food. So I think the concept of mindful eating is just really the act of slowing down and, carving out specific time to eat and only eat. I'm really guilty of eating at my desk and, eating while doing other things. So this is definitely something that I feel like I could work on. But I do know when I'm just focusing on eating, I do feel more satisfied. I actually feel like I enjoyed my food, and can be really helpful. So, and, when I think about, 60, 70 years ago when we didn't have as many screens and we didn't have, as much distractions as we do now, there was just a lot more of communal family meal times that happened around a table where people, sat and ate, in a location that was just meant for food. And I think now it's, there's a lot more of like eating in the car, eating on the fly. And it's all, I think, a time issue. And, we have, screens more accessible to us and what have you. The other kind of contrary to mindful eating is mindless eating, right? So we're like just eating and not really, I think the classic one we think about when we go to like a movie and we're eating popcorn, you can eat a lot of popcorn and not really be, feel good about, you don't really even maybe even like it. You just do it because you're at a movie, and then you eat more than you maybe want to just because you're not paying attention to it because you're distracted by the movie. So just kind of trying to think about times when you're more likely to mindlessly eat, and then trying to be more mindful about when you have a meal to eat, how you can limit those distractions. So thoughts, comments, questions, just kind of open it up to you all if you've had experiences or have thoughts about mindful eating.
Yeah. I naturally was a fast eater. Like even if my parents, bless them, they really did make a intention to sit down as a family to eat. And even as a child, I was like the first one done eating. And I noticed that it like upset my digestion, and that I don't know, I wasn't really experiencing the food all the time, right? And so as I got older and developed, my relationship with food changed, I noticed that when I eat mindfully, you mentioned the word satisfied, Kaylee, and I love that word, because food satisfies so many needs, not just the feeling of satiation when we're full and content, but also satisfied emotionally, mentally. Food can be an emotional thing, right? We can get comfort and joy and dopamine all out of these food experiences. And I noticed that um, I appreciate that food. And so, like, if I am feeling snacky and I just kind of want to, have treats, maybe in the evening time, or during my work day, I enjoy them more, and then feel like when I am really in the moment with the flavor and the texture, and even looking at the colors of the food while I'm eating it, um it makes it an experience rather than just something that you're doing to consume. And not only does the moment of eating mindfully feel better, like I feel like I chew my food more. Going back to that being a fast eater, I'm chewing more thoroughly, and then that makes my digestion better. And it really has changed my relationship with food to be more mindful when I eat. And that's not to say that it happens every time. When we can make a practice of it, it does work.
Thanks for sharing, Lydia.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Taylor or Sarah, do you have anything to add or questions, comments?
Well, I was just thinking about it growing up. My grandma always told us at every bite, we had to chew it 10 times and put our fork down. And I used to be the slowest eater, and she was always, and all our holiday meals seemed to go on forever. I always find it interesting, like you remember those holiday meals the most, but I feel like we're so engaged in conversation and it's just wonderful. But yeah, we were always raised that, slow down, put your fork down, chew it each bite 10 times, which was painful. But then I found when I became a nurse and a parent, like if you wanted warm food, you had to hustle, get that food in. Now I'm just like, oh, I just had that. I don't even know what I ate. I don't know what I had. And so just trying to get back into that. I brought it up to my kids the other day of trying to kind of get them to slow down too, of like, no, Grandma Alice said, slow down, chew your food 10 times. And they looked at me like I was crazy, but it's so true though, to like, go take your time, conversation, shut everything off, sit at the table and just be more mindful. And anyways, when you were talking about that, just kind of made me think about how we were raised and how we kind of gotten away from that, from the busyness.
That's so beautiful. Grandma was wise. She knew what she was talking about.
Right, yeah, she drove us crazy, especially at Christmas time, because we couldn't open presents till dinner was, everybody's plate was done. She was so slow.
Oh, I think, that just, she knew what she was doing. She was drawing out the experience, building those memories with everybody. Because
Yep,
if you rush through, it's over, right?
it's over, yep.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. That's really beautiful.
It's also kind of interesting to think of like, back, mindful eating is now, I don't really want to call it a trend, but it is sort of a trend where, there's been a ton of research and books written about mindful eating, but it's interesting to think back, back then, people were aware of the importance of it too, that just maybe didn't have the research side behind it back then. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I believe
Right.
it's been a practice, a formal practice in some Buddhist traditions for generations. They make a practice of sitting down together and eating mindfully. And so there's some ancient wisdom in the trend too, which is kind of always how it seems to be, right? We always come back around to key pieces of knowledge in a new way with new insight.
I
Okay,
agree.
well, for this,
Yep.
oh, go ahead, Sarah, sorry.
I was just gonna say, I agree, yep.
Mhm.
I'm gonna keep moving us along, just to make sure that we are getting through the content that you all came for. So we're gonna kind of talk a little bit more about fueling for energy and focus, and how to do that in our days. Breakfast is really essential to making sure that we're starting the day having energy, to be able to, for our brains to perform, for our bodies to perform in the way that they need to. And a balanced breakfast is really kind of focusing on three things: protein, fiber, and a healthy form of fat. And so Sarah, you missed it, but we were kind of sharing at the beginning. We got kind of on the topic of breakfast. And so, people shared what their um, what is a energy boosting meal, and the components that folks shared were kind of around some form of a fat felt like it was satisfying for them, a protein source of some kind, and then a fiber source. So this could look like many different things. There's lots of different forms of protein, fiber, and fat that could fit into this. Some ideas that were shared were kind of a yogurt, Greek yogurt bowl of some sort, maybe adding some other protein in it through protein powder or cottage cheese, and then having some form of a fruit that has fiber in it. Those berries are going to have a higher fiber content. And chia seeds were also mentioned, and chia seeds are a great form of fat and fiber, and really helpful to add into smoothies or bowls, just because it's easy to add them in. It's an easy way to get fiber in, and then having some form of a healthy fat, which could look like nut butter, nuts, avocado, maybe some, avocado oil or eggs are also a great form of fat. Chia seeds, again, are helpful. So just trying to kind of think through, how can I prioritize making sure I get those things, and, trying to aim at, I think, I know that there's a big, it's trending in kind of the wellness culture right now, protein, but it is crucial to have protein in that breakfast, and aiming for, 20 to 30 grams is minimally ideal, which might seem like a lot, but it is super helpful to help you, stay full for a while and really maintain that energy level. Um, hydration is also really helpful for many reasons. Keeping your energy level up. It also, I think about drinking water is helpful because it makes you actually get up and have to go to the bathroom. I know it's kind of seems a little silly, but if you're not drinking liquids, it's easy to sit for extended amounts of time. And there's a direct correlation between hydration and energy level as well. Does take some planning ahead. So for us to have a balanced breakfast, eat balanced meals, there has to be some kind of thought put into it. And we're going to kind of do some skill building around how to set some SMART goals at the end of the workshop around how we can add more of these nutrient dense foods into our day. The reason I think, well, there's many reasons. We were kind of discussing earlier about what we are around is mostly processed, maybe high sugar, high fat of the wrong types of fat. And so we don't have kind of those nutrient dense foods around us. We're more likely going to choose those other things. And then sometimes when we start eating those things, we just want more of them because that's just how the food is created. So it's like we eat sugar, we want more sugar. We have more salt, we want more salt. And so just trying to kind of think through what you can do to make it easier for yourself to feel good throughout your day. Sorry, I'm just kidding. Talked about this with the mindful eating a little bit, but taking a break to eat, having intentional meal times where we, are blocking off our lunch, even if it's just 10, 15 minutes that you're just eating and not having to worry about, being in a meeting in 2 minutes or, not being able to eat a full meal because you only have a couple of minutes, or maybe not having time to eat at all. And then you get home at the end of the day and you're just starving. So, just building those breaks, meal times into your day. Choosing whole foods. We've talked about this a little bit already, but trying to go with foods that, have one ingredient, is the ideal. Obviously, there's foods that are more than one ingredient that are completely fine choices. And I don't like to think of foods as good or bad. Just think of more nutrient dense and ones that are less nutrient dense. All foods can fit, if you enjoy to have certain things in your day. I think the topic for conversation today is just that energy level and just helping you feel good and, just being kind of self-aware that some foods make you feel better than others. And so how do we make it easier for you to feel better and choose those foods that do make you feel pretty good during the day? Most of us just do better with more whole food based. We feel fuller longer, we have higher energy level, and you just don't feel bogged down after meals. One step at a time. Food can be really overwhelming and can just be a lot of work. And so I think just trying to kind of focus one small thing at a time. Either that's, a specific meal that you want to change up a little bit to be more balanced, or swapping, some kind of option for what you think is a better option, being very mindful not to label things good and bad. But, if you don't feel like, that diet soda in the morning is really supporting you, what could you swap it out for that you feel like could maybe fuel that energy level, and just make you feel better at the end of the day. I'm going to pause there before we shift to more environmental in the workplace conversation. Does anyone have any comments, questions, thoughts before we move on? Lydia.
I love that you brought up the concept of foods not having a moral value, right? I think that's so important when it comes to developing a relationship with food. I know for me, for a long time, I had that black and white, like food is a moral thing. Like, oh, I'm a good girl if I eat these foods, and I'm bad if I do this. And I noticed that there was a lot of shame and judgment that would kind of make me food spiral. Like if I had a low moment and decided to treat myself to some Taco Bell, that's my preferred fast food when I'm in a pinch. And I notice if I do that once, it kind of leads to me feeling negatively about my choices, and that can actually ironically just lead to making worse and worse food choices. Um, and speaking of the mindful eating piece, what's interesting to me that's coming up for me now is that a huge component of mindfulness is observing without judgment. And that means trying not to attach a positive or a negative value to what you're observing, but to just notice, right? And so then applying that to our food choices, um, remembering that we're all human, we all have uh, the right to experience different things. Sometimes we have the ability to make whole food choices. Other times we're gonna, enjoy the donut. And in those moments where we do enjoy the donut, just like be there with the donut and notice what comes up. Like enjoy the decadency, and also enjoy maybe the other biofeedback that you get. Maybe noticing like, oh, now my stomach doesn't feel so good. Um, and I'm kind of disenchanted with that. And so maybe next time, like I might choose a different option, rather than that like shame-based judgment cycle that I was like so easy to fall into. So yeah, that just came up for me. I never put that two and two together with the non-judgment piece and mindful eating. Thanks, Kaylee.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Lydia. I think that's super helpful. Just insights and, I think all of us can relate to, we have a culture that just labels food a lot of things, or, we have how we were raised or other influences, dictate how we eat, what we eat. And that also led me to think of, a lot of women specifically, where we try to think about how we can eat less, and that really hasn't served us well. And so, most women, I would say, need actually to eat more than they're currently eating. And I think, eating all of those macronutrients, the fat, fiber, protein that we need will actually help, that connection piece with, I think Taylor mentioned it, like the mental health connection. A lot of us feel more anxious, especially women that have hormones, if we're not eating balanced meals, if we're not eating regularly, if we're skipping meals and having caffeine. And some of those things, you know, are just habits that we've had for a long time, but just kind of thinking about the importance of fueling our bodies with food, to help our systems work correctly. And that is a mental block too. Sometimes just we're like, oh, that's too much food, I shouldn't be eating that. So, trying to kind of work through those things and, learn more about what your body needs and making sure you're fueling it with those things, I think is a really helpful tool. Yeah. I like this kind of discussion. I do have a slide, but the next kind of discussion we're going to kind of talk through is how we can make it easier to make healthy choices at work. And so just kind of curious if any of you have had experiences or have some ideas of how to make healthier choices easier. And I think we were talking about a few things earlier, like, treats in the break room, meals that are kind of just having more food accessible, having celebrations that, revolve around some kind of sugary thing, which again, like if that's what you want to engage with, but when it's day after day after day, it maybe isn't super helpful really for anyone. Sugar is amazing, but it also, I shouldn't say amazing, it's delicious, but doesn't make most people feel good for, having, a treat here and there is totally fine, or even a treat a day, but large consumptions are really going to make anyone feel good. So just thoughts, comments around ideas around how you can build some healthier options in the workplaces.
Just wanted to welcome you in too, Trista. Thank you so much for joining us. Sarah says in chat, I like the observing without judgment piece. Thanks for that comment. And I'm kind of inspired if I was in a office environment with the fruit parfaits, rather than bringing in like I'm just going to use the stereotypical box of donuts analogy. Like, it would be so much fun to do a Greek yogurt parfait bar. You know, they sell those big tubs of Greek yogurt. You could get a couple of different options for people to choose from. I feel like that would be a really fun thing. And then something that I do for myself, I do like a whole food charcuterie board. I don't like to cook, honestly. It maybe it's like an ADHD thing, but I want to have whole foods that I can just eat. And so like apples and whole nut butter, or olives and tomatoes, sourdough bread and brie cheese, those types of just ready to eat but also whole snacking foods. I like creating a little smorgasbord for myself. I can kind of just graze and till I feel satiated, but that's uh, kind of been my European dinner.
I guess the one other comment that I would add, more from, just experience working, like my office is located within a health center, and there's similar, things that come into our break room. But I think just, being willing to speak up and ask for alternative options, or, when there is cakes, can we have some whole fruit, or could we think about, having some like dark chocolate or just some other options, so people can just have a choice if they want to engage in the celebration or need a snack in the break room. They just have a choice, because people can make whatever choice they want, but just having some, other options. And I think about with kids, right? Like, if we can think about presenting different options, they might not always choose an option, but like, us as adults, we always want to have, we have more healthier options available to us, we're more likely to choose them, especially if we're seeking them out. So I am gonna keep us moving along here. I love this discussion. Thanks so much for sharing. So some individual level strategies about how we can, bring more healthy choices into the workplace. We talked about this a lot already, but homemade meals or snacks. So, things like Lydia's ideas are great, whole foods that don't take much prep time. There's some pretty good brands of, ready to eat bars, or, even just simple things like bananas and almonds or peanut butter, and just maybe stocking that in your office, or in the break room, better yet. I don't know if people like the communal side of it, but just making it more easy for you to access. Moving on to the next, thinking about when you make meals at home, meal preparation and cooking does take more time, and you're going to do it already. So if you can kind of double the recipes, or make it so that you can, have dinner one night, lunch for 3 days, you put it in containers right after you make it. So it's already done, and all you have to do is grab it the next day. That can be super helpful, especially on busy mornings, especially with that decision fatigue that we were talking around food, that, it's already, all you have to do is then eat the food, and, it will be, a good choice, hopefully, that you enjoy eating. And keeping that water visible at your desk, so that it reminds you to drink water consistently, and having maybe a water bottle that you feel excited about, or some kind of fancy glass, maybe a sparkling water of sorts that makes you feel more excited about drinking water. Organizational strategies, talked about this a little bit already, but just, working to have healthier options during celebrations, meetings, in the break rooms. You don't really have to, I would say, leaving those other options there, but just how can you add some other options that just are more whole food, more nutrient dense. Provide nutrition education. There's a lot of great education that we would be happy to provide for you to kind of, even just the protein, fat, fiber, like some snack ideas or some meal ideas that could be really easy, just for giving folks ideas of what they could bring for meals or what to consume to kind of help them feel more satiated and just good after they eat. Encourage social meal breaks. I think this is a really great idea that I think we've really gotten away from. Meeting a coworker in the break room at a certain time to enjoy a meal together that you could also go and enjoy a meal together elsewhere, but just being, more mindful of how you can create meal time, ideally away from your desk. You're not eating in the place that you're working, so you can kind of separate it, similar to like not working in your bed, trying to kind of have certain places for eating and certain places for working can be really helpful. Ways you can strengthen workplace nutrition culture. So I think, the first thing that comes to my mind, and I have a few other ideas here on the slide, is just, we're very social creatures. We're very aware. And so leading by example, supporting colleagues to make healthier food choices. And I think I've forever kind of struggled with this because of my title. I think there's just like this innate feeling that people feel judged by the wellness person. And that is like the exact opposite of most wellness people. If they're, what I would say, legit wellness people, in quotes, that all we want to do is just help people. And, and if that means that they're, whatever it is that they're consuming. But I think just being, some people just feel uncomfortable having these conversations. They might not want to have these conversations, but they might see you and what you're doing and, might ask questions or, how you can kind of share information. And, on the readiness scale, some people just are not interested in changing their food behaviors, and that is totally fine. Everyone has their right to be wherever they are. But I do think that leading by example and kind of sharing when it's appropriate and when people are interested in it can be really helpful. And then just advocating for workplace friendly policies, like, I think most health departments do have required breaks, but actually encouraging people to take them and maybe rewarding them for actually taking a lunch break, just some ideas. And then, how we can do more meal sharing or healthy recipe exchange or some kind of conversation around how to eat healthy in the workplace. And, most people, some people, I shouldn't say most people, are interested in the topic, have something to add, and it could be really helpful to just kind of have more of a conversation around it. Is there anything that you'd want to add, Lydia, or any other comments, questions that folks have about what we could do to strengthen workplace nutrition culture?
Totally. You're inspiring all kinds of little ideas to fire today. I was just thinking about the idea of having a whole food potluck at work. I think it's so wonderful when we can have those potluck experiences with our colleagues. And I do think that we have so much wisdom. We all have probably like one or two of our favorite snacks, right? Favorite healthy snacks. And one thing just in general I struggle with is variety. I get bored. And so we can learn from one another, like what our favorite go-to whole foods are and share that around. And I think when we frame the potluck in a way, like a Whole Foods potluck, it inspires people to bring in recipes that fuel our energy rather than like great granny's delicious lemon bars. Maybe we'll like bring in, what recipe you shared with me, Kaylee, that changed my life?
That avocado salsa recipe?
The Greek, that one was also good. Amazing. The Greek yogurt dip.
Oh,
We talked a lot about parfaits with Greek yogurt. But I had never thought about making Greek yogurt savory before. And from what I understand, you just put like ranch dressing seasonings, like flavor, in the Greek yogurt, and then you can dip all the vegetables that you want in there. or fruits, peppers, celery, carrots. And it made yogurt so enjoyable for me because I don't always love a sweet profiled yogurt. And yeah, it's just kind of a great example of how we can also spark
Mhm,
those kinds of experiences for one
mhm,
another.
mhm. Yeah, I think that just makes me think of too, there's you can get so creative with food. So if there's certain foods that you really like or, you know, want to eat more of that you maybe feel like you don't make you feel so good. I think there's some ways that you can maybe swap some things out to have you feel a little bit better after you eat them. So I think that's a great point as well. Um,
Sarah says, part of our office wellness. Oh, she also said, love it. Great ideas above earlier. Part of our office wellness is a visual board where we hang health events like today's session, and we are wanting to get a bigger board to add positive sayings, quotes, or pictures and recipes. I love that. That we see every day in the break room. That is a great best practice to share. What a cool way to not only communally collaborate, but then have that reflecting back to everybody what what the intention is. Thanks for sharing that best practice, Sarah.
Yeah, that's super helpful. And I think, can be really impactful. People are visiting that location regularly. They can, take a quick peek and engage with information that would be helpful for their day. I know we're a little bit short on time. My last kind of slide is just really thinking about how we can set an intention of the information that we learned today to help you make a choice that you feel like would improve your well-being related to nutrition, using SMART goal setting that we love in the wellness program. So, just thinking about one thing that really kind of sparked your interest or an idea that you think would really help you. And this could be an individual level, it could be your organizational level that you really want to kind of make an intention to do. So, the specific, really encouraging to be really specific. So not just like, I want to eat a more healthy breakfast, or more nutrient dense breakfast. Like what specifically would that be, so that you can help yourself out with some pre-planning. So I'm going to eat, a Greek yogurt bowl. I'm going to add some raspberries and some peanut butter to it. I'm going to try to do that, let's say 3 days out of the week. And I'm going to try to eat that breakfast before 9 a.m. The next one is measurable. So how are you going to track that you eat when you want to, and make sure that you're holding yourself accountable. So just some way to track. I don't know, things I think about here are taking a picture. If you like to write things down, you could write it down. If you do like to log food for whatever reason, that's helpful. Is it realistic? Is it achievable? What does that mean for you? Really thinking about the readiness to change. So a lot of folks, have a desire maybe to eat better, make different choices. Organizational level, also there might not be a readiness in your organization to engage in this conversation yet. So just kind of making sure that we're setting a goal that is in alignment with that. So kind of an easy way to self-check is if you ask yourself, how important is it for you to eat more balanced breakfast 3 days out of the week. And if you're rating, if you answer that question an 8 or above, I would say you're okay to, move forward with the goal. We like to get closer to 10. Also, how confident do you feel in your ability to eat that well-balanced breakfast? Want it to be an 8 or above, ideally higher. And, as a culture, we're always kind of pushing ourselves to do more than we're ready for. And that is hard because then maybe we, for whatever reason, can't do the 3 days. We could do 2 days, no problem. And then we don't give ourselves credit for the 2 days, our motivation goes down. So starting smaller with more specific, we can always, if our goal is 2 days, we can always do 4, and that's a bonus instead of doing the opposite where we set a goal for 4 days, we only do 2, and then we feel like we haven't made any progress. So really trying to help yourself out and set realistic, achievable goals to help maintain that motivation and keep it going up so that you want to continue to show up and make those choices, and it takes intention and effort. why is it important for you, having a really clear kind of connection point with why is it important for you to eat this full balanced breakfast? What is the benefit? Why will it help you, so that you can remind yourself of that when you maybe not wanting to wake up the 5 minutes earlier, or you don't feel like eating. And then just having some kind of checkpoint weekly, bi-weekly. I realized a typo in my slide there with the U. But yeah, when, just checking in with yourself so you can see how it went, what you can change moving forward. So with that, I think we're right on time. I definitely can stay on for a few minutes if there's other questions. Really appreciate you being here, a part of this conversation. I know Desiree dropped in the chat eval to complete. Happy to discuss how we can build more nutrition into your lives and the lives of your workplaces. So thanks for joining.
Thank you, Kaylee.
Thank you so much for facilitating, Kaylee. We appreciate your wisdom and expertise, and I really appreciate you, Taylor and Sarah. Thank you so much for joining us today. It was a really great conversation. I love these smaller groups just because of the conversations we get to have together, and I hope you guys have a great day.
Thank you.
Great, thank you.